Well, welcome back. I'm not sure if you're obsessive and this is all in day one or you broke this up over several days, but you're back and I'm really honored to have you here. So I left you in section one kind of in the place I did on purpose. I wanted to uncover that story that could be your anchor, holding you back from sailing as fast as you deserve to be. And I wanted to give you some ways for you to see that that story is bullshit, for lack of a better word, right? But I didn't give you all the skills to create your new story, that new empowering story, because I really wanted you to digest and think about what you've been telling yourself for all these years or recently and what it's cost you. You know, I mentioned some great people, Gina and Carol and Joe Jurek, and I mentioned Ali Savavi. I told you my story. You know, I think of another young man named Roman who sent in an incredible video of how his life transformed. Now, Roman was an immigrant who didn't speak great English. And Roman worked 2 jobs, about 17 hours a day. And he said he was basically mean because there was no time left. Because when he said he was mean, because he said, I was even mean to my dog. And he said I was mean because I just figured I was an immigrant, I didn't speak the language good, and the only way I could support my family is to work 2 jobs and work 17 hours a week. And there was just no time left for anything else. And I didn't have time to have patience. I didn't have time to learn English better. I didn't have time to do things right or go to the gym or be a better father or be at the school functions or be polite to my wife. It was just 17, 18 hours. I come home just exhausted. This is all I got. This is the life I'm going to give, and at least I'm in America. That was his old story. When I got to see Roman's new story in a video he sent, the smile in his face, literally, you wouldn't have to hear anything about Roman if you just saw a snapshot. Maybe we could just show a quick picture of Roman, just this happy, vibrant guy who changed that story and said, I can do this. Other people have come to America and they've come with nothing, and they didn't have to be grumpy or mean or look at the glass half empty or look through a scarcity mindset. Yes, I know those things are tough. Please don't think I'm trying to take away any hardship that you might be going through or what Roman went through. But his story was keeping him paralyzed. He had that anchor locked in on a rock and his ship wasn't going anywhere. And when he changed that story and realized he could do this and he could make a difference, and he found out what was holding him back because his mom and dad had told him, you know, this is the way it was going to be, and he found out what was holding him back and created this crap story. When he released the anchor and got rid of the story, he empowered himself with a new story. That I am in America. I feel blessed. Others have done it. I'm going to learn the language. I'm going to start my own company. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to take a chance. Literally in the video that he sent me, he said, Dean, I'm even nicer to my dog. I'm an incredible father. I'm an amazing husband. I get to be there for all my kids' functions. I mean, seriously, his face was lit up like we were talking about your outer appearance. You wouldn't even know, like I said, nothing with this guy, and you'll know that he's living a fulfilled, more abundant life. And what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you wait for life to give you something and then you get happy? No, that's being the thermometer. We want to be the thermostat. He changed the knob, and he changed his life. So I want to get you that new story. So we started down that process. You know what your old story is. You know where it came from, the event. You know what happened. You know whose fault it was. You know what it cost you. So if you know that, and then we went back and reversed it, yes, the first part is doing what we did in the last section, is reverse that story. Change the past. Change what that means to you. Literally, I did this with my father. I changed what those events meant to me. My sister never did. She's an amazing lady. She raised 2 incredible kids, but my sister struggles. She's on antidepressants. She'd be mad for me to say that, but I'm pretty transparent because she hasn't gone back and helped change her past to realize it empowered her to be self-employed, to be the best wife I know. Her and her husband, Rob, have the best relationship I know. Been married for 25 years, have 2 incredible children. One of them works for me. I mean, just so blessed, but still that pain of that story is it might have made her financially great and a great parent, but there's other places that she hurts on the inside because she didn't go back and change it. And it's hard for some people if they don't take the time to focus on it. And you know, a prophet's never welcome in their hometown, so it's still my big sister. It's hard for me to share with her. But I've helped her financially. She's doing better. But that one area, she hasn't gone back and changed it, and I'm going to keep working on her. And that's why I want you to do the same thing. So go back and change history. Can you? Yes, every successful person I know in the entire world, and remember when I say success, I mean that new definition of success. Success in all areas of life. They went back and changed history. I want you to get disgusted with your old story. Not only do I want you to change history about that story, and like we talked about in the last section, go back and watch it if you need to, but I want you to be disgusted with your old story. I want you to be like, how was I thinking those thoughts for so long? And there's some ways we want to do this. And one is, I want you to pretend that you're having a conversation with God or whoever you believe your maker is. And when God says to you, or your maker says to you, son or daughter, how come you're not living the life that I wanted for you? This amazing world that we gave you with limitless possibilities, made you in my likeness with no limits on your life. What stopped you from being your best you? I want you to seriously sit there. Could you sit there and say to your maker, I couldn't make it because my dad was rough on me when I was little, or my dad never loved me, or my mom did this, or my ex-wife cheated on me, or my kids, they don't talk to me like they should, or my boss is mean to me every day. Could you really say that to your maker? Could you say that to someone who had massive struggles, or someone that, was in World War II, or someone that was in a Nazi concentration camp, or someone who's facing cancer? Maybe you are, maybe you're in a tough place, or someone you love is. But could you say that to your maker, someone you love, or someone with terrible struggles that still came through and amazing, on the other side came through amazing because they had a different story? I want you to find a way to be disgusted with your old story. So saying it out loud is one of them. Like, I don't have a good life because my dad was mean to me. Come on, right? Again, yours might be 10 times worse. I'm just using that as a real simple example, but we need to get disgusted with the old story. Here's another way to make that old story go away forever. Get proof that your old story is bullshit. My old story was I wasn't smart enough, and you needed money to make money and an education. Is that true? Is that true? Do you personally know any millionaires and successful people financially that didn't go to college? Yep. You could probably Google and get a statistic on how many millionaires there are in America that didn't go to college. So that story is bullshit. I'm not good at reading. I was terrible in grammar. Are there other people that have New York Times best-selling books and sold lots of books that aren't good at grammar and reading and English? Yes. That story is bullshit. Is there other people out there that had a rough childhood? A lot rougher than mine. Mine was nothing compared to what some of you may have gone through, and molestation and being beat. There's terrible things that happen to wonderful people. So have other people with tough childhoods have gone on to be great dads and in great relationships and have amazing friends and be successful financially? Yes. The old story is full of holes. It's all BS, right? And the opposite side of that is, while we start crafting, and now is the time you start crafting your new story, as you write your new story, go to the complete opposite side. Does your new story have proof behind it that it could work? If I went from, I'm empowered because my childhood circumstances allowed me to communicate better, be able to be a visual learner, and I've learned to fail a lot when I was a kid, so failure doesn't bug me. So when you combine the ability to learn really fast and failure doesn't bother me, and I'm tenacious as hell, my life is limitless. I got goosebumps. Is that an empowering story? You know what I say before I go on stage? I always say, God, please empower my subconscious to unlock my unique ability that you gave me to help people see that there's another path in their life and transform their lives. That's a better story. There's a better story for you. So what is it? Take that old story and flip it on its head. Because of those circumstances, because you were molested, because your husband left you or your wife left you, because that partner stole money, because someone wasn't good to you, because your parents didn't love you, because of that, it has built this amazing piece of you that can accomplish anything when you focus on the things you're already good at, like we talked about. The hell with what you suck at. Leave those alone. Right? So what I want you to do is start crafting this new story word by word and find proof that it is true. It is true. Your old story is not the truth. Say your old story again with like you're talking to your maker, and then the truth, say to yourself, is that true? No. But is it true you can accomplish what you want? Yes, the proof is everywhere. Find the proof. So as you craft this new empowering story, the one that's going to totally crush the villain, I want you to think of the things that can empower that story. So start saying it to yourself all the time. Write down this story, tweak each word. What is this new story? When the old one pops in, be consciously aware of your thoughts. Let your soul monitor your thoughts. You wake up in the middle of the night and you're telling that old crappy story, say, whoa, 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 I threw that out. That's a horrible story. Replace it with this new one. Here's an exercise I'd like you to do. As you craft your new story, I'd like you for the next 60 days, every night before you go to bed, just say that story. Just say it. Say it to yourself as you fall asleep, the last thing you think about, and make it the first thing you think about or say when you wake up in the morning. Another thing is surround yourself with people that are living what you want to live or living the life you want or better. We talked about in the first part, but what I'd love for you to do now is search out somebody who lives this way, who if you told your story to, they'd say, God damn, that is awesome. I've done that too, or I've lived an abundant life too. Not someone that you'd tell that story to and go, what? No, you can't get ahead. You know, our president, or we're too liberal, or we're too conservative, or the Congress, or the Senate, or our debt ceiling, the new Obamacare, that's good. No. That's not the person that you want to empower you. The other thing too is you should get an accountability coach who helps guide you. If you have somebody that can mentor you and guide you, grab a hold of them. I personally pay for two. I go 4 times a year to Strategic Coach in Toronto, Canada, to Dan Sullivan. He's my accountability coach, delivering me wisdom to be a better educator, a better businessman, a better person. I also go to Joe Polish's event down here in Phoenix. I love that event. I pay 25 grand for each of those each year to go to their events because they keep me accountable for my own change. Even though this is my obsession, I'm a teacher, but I want to be held accountable for my growth. If you have someone in your life that can mentor you, do it. We have some opportunities to have coaching too, so we can talk about that later. But on this page, if you want to fill out an application and talk to somebody to be there for you, to help craft your new story, help guide you on this new path, I want to be there and have a certified high-performance coach walk you down that path, keep you accountable to not fall back to old habits. And lastly, with changing your story, and I hope you could stop this video anytime you want to craft that new story, compare it to the old, use all the pieces we talked about at the end of section 1, this new section, getting proof the old story is bullshit, getting proof the new story is truth. Live your truth. Live your truth. Get rid of the lies. You've been telling yourself lies for years. And again, if you're super successful financially, that means you're watching me for a reason. There's something lacking. So maybe you have the perfect story to gain money, and you have a horrible story about your relationship. So find the story that's disempowering you, flip it on its side, and create the new one. So what's your new story? Please take the time, if you didn't already, write it down, and it would be great over the next 48 hours. If you just had a time, take a walk, get on the treadmill, spend some time alone, meditate, and let your subconscious digest this new story. You've got this old story in one or many areas of your life that's been lacking for too long. You need to replace it. So let's pound it into your subconscious. That's why I want you to say it every night and every morning, but it'd be great if you could spend a half hour and meditate and just feel that story. Say it out loud. When you have an empowering story, like, think about this, and I'm going to end with this. A disempowering story, when you say it out loud, your outer appearance, there's no way you could say it like, I just can't get ahead because of the economy, because of my competitors, because of my lousy partner. You can't say that. But when you could say is, no, my lousy partner who robbed money from me, he empowered me to see that I can get through anything and come back solid. I'll tell you a quick story. About 12 years ago, my business was doing good. Not amazing, it was doing good. I was on my road up, and at the same time, I had an accountant steal a lot of money from me. It sounds like one of those stories that everybody has, but I did. I was very trusting, and somebody stole money while at the same time a competitor robbed my biggest account on something I was working with. It generated the majority of my income. All happened in a 30-day period. And I remember being like, oh, look what the world did to me. I can't believe this happened to me. All those damn stories from life creating that villain. The villain was, showing his muscles. And then I got this story that just this overwhelming power. I said, how could I be saying that? How am I saying that out loud? My shoulders are down. I look pathetic. And I remember flipping it, and I remember saying to myself, you know what? If I can get through this mess, I can get through anything. If I can get through this mess, I can get through anything. If I can get through this mess, I can get through anything. If I can get through this mess, damn it, I can get through anything. And I said it and I got goosebumps on my face. And I remember I took a walk and I'm just literally walking down the street. So if I can get through this mess, I can get through everything. I can get through anything. And I said it over and over. And I said it so much it became my story. When shit went bad, I'm like, if I can get through this, I can get through anything. And I went on to just take my company to a whole nother level, take my life. I ended up getting in the best shape of my life, making the most money ever made, and started a new relationship all at the same time because I said this was something that was meant to be. It meant to build me. You know, I teach my kids, I'll try not to talk about them too much, but I adore them so much. But I teach my kids all the time, is failure good or bad? And my kids know failure is amazing. If you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. You're coasting. Push yourself to fail, but we learn from all of it. It's all perspective. It's all changing the past, empowering that new story, replacing that old crappy one, and damn, this is your path to kill the villain. And more important, it's your path to unleashing the hero that lives inside of you, that life you deserve. Okay, now we hopefully have your new story and the whole process on how to just switch out that old crappy story and replace it here. Next, how to kill this villain once and for all. We talked about exposing the villain. In the first section, we talked about beating the villain up and pushing him down and raising his confidence. Section 3 is going to give you the techniques to change your state and raise your confidence level, that you're always at 100 whenever you need it, that you're always at the state you want to be when you want to call upon it. But right now, we still need to crush this villain so it never pops its ugly head back into your life. Right? And hopefully, again, remember the 2 pictures? Let's use that as our foundation. We're going to go deep on that in section 3. But next, I want to talk about finding your true reason why. You know, isn't that the big question that so many people ask, the big question in life? What is your purpose? What is your why? Why are you watching me? You know, if I said you're watching me right now because you want financial freedom, who would raise their hand? Raise your hand if you think so. What if I said you want inner happiness? Maybe that's it. Maybe you want peace and joy. Maybe you want to be in better shape, a better relationship. You just want to be more successful, more empowered. I don't know what your why is, but in most cases, the first why you think about is not the reason you're watching me, not even close. So I want to give you an example of something that transformed my entire life. It transformed everything I know about my why. And then I want to give you some examples of other people who've taken this and what I call the 7 levels deep to find your true reason why. Now, I know there's a lot of psychology that might be similar to this, but I just want to let you know. And you know, through the history of time, you read stuff in the 30s and 40s, these principles are the same. They're timeless on success and people who don't have success in all areas of their life. But what I strive to do is search out ways where they're applicable to your life. We live in a crazy busy world. Cell phones, mine's sitting right there. You know, emails, phone call. I mean, you're just never out of touch. Technology has us moving 3 times as fast, right? So what I want to do is not just deliver you this wisdom that's good listening or good reading. I want to give you the wisdom where you go, holy crap, I get that. Boom, you put it in your life. And remember, everything I'm talking about, I want you to think about it in terms of not adding more to your life. I know how damn busy you are. I want you to think of just plucking out the old and pushing in the new in the same spot and just making a little tiny twist, right? A little tiny shift, right? So think of everything. We're pulling out to replace. That's this whole process. We're like even in the first section, same here. Your new story. That's no extra time. You are just pulling out an old story and putting in the new story. Like, here's what I want to share with you. When you change your story and your life starts to evolve, what you realize, and this is like, you know, it's plateaus of success. It's showing you proof as you go along. What's really amazing about changing your story, changing your state, changing your confidence is as things evolve and start to get better, you realize nothing in the outside world changed. Nothing in Joe Jurek's life changed. Nothing in Ali Savavi's life changed on the outside that affected him. Nothing different in Gina Heredis' house. Her house didn't change. Her husband didn't make more money. You know, nothing, Carol Stenson, nothing changed. You know what changed? She became the thermostat. Everything changed in here. And then the outside world opened their arms up to them. Do you understand that? Maybe you're in a tough place in your life and you're not seeing it, or maybe you're very conscious and you get it. I just want to give you the tools, whether you're highly advanced or just starting and you're on the first person that's ever shared with you this kind of stuff. I want you to see that you can do this by plucking out some of the old and just replacing it. It's like taking out an old battery and getting rid of the new. It's that parasite, that villain living inside of you, and I just want to give you the pill that blasts that out, and so you can start absorbing life and let the trees get greener and the birds get louder and life get more present, and you become more conscious and ready just for the level of life you were meant to have. So I'm going to share a personal story. I had a gentleman named Joe Stump, and Joe runs a big company, and I was on this path of trying to get more of you, my students, my clients, to digest. This was years ago, this was 8, 9 years ago. I've evolved a long time since then. But I wanted more people to use what I had. I felt like I get it in people's hands, but so many people are so busy, they just go, oh, I'll read this book next week and never read it. Or I'll watch that video, and they don't, and they let life suck them back in, right? Did you ever feel that way? You know, I'm going to tell a story. Before I get to the 7 levels deep, I want to tell you a story. Really think about this. You know, what I hope to do is get you out of the rut of your life. And when I say a rut, it doesn't mean that your life is horrible. I mean a rut by the path. So think about this. If a farmer gets up every morning, he lives in the Midwest, he gets up, starts his tractor, picks up all the corn, puts it on the back of the tractor, and he's going to go feed the cows. And he drives out through the field. If he did that every single day, and it's a mile away to the cows, if he did that every day, what will eventually happen? Build ruts, right? And eventually he could just put the corn on, start the tractor, put it in gear, and do what? Let go of the wheel, because the ruts will guide him there. And in life, so many of us have let go of the wheel. We just figure that's our life. That's the pattern of our life. That's the ruts. And I want to encourage you to not let that happen, because when you let go of the wheel, you fall back into these old patterns. Listen to me. I hope you're inspired, but I'm not here just to inspire and motivate. I'm here to give you tools. This is a capability training program. This isn't just a motivational rah-rah program. I want to give you tools that you do not let your life go back into this ruts. I hope you're motivated right now, but life is still going to hit you in the face tomorrow, the next day, or weeks after this. And you got to be armed. You have to have a toolbox of success tools that when somebody comes by you, you have shields. When you want to move forward, you got picks and shovels and you can move. That's what it's all about. But here's the part I want to share with you. Once I arm you with these tools, I want you to realize if you're the farmer and want to go to a different spot, you don't have to get in and make a 180 and turn and start a whole new direction and start a whole new farm and find new cows. No, all you have to do is get in the tractor in the morning and turn it just a little bit. That's all I'm asking you to do, is each day, just a little turn. Because if that farmer turns that wheel just a little bit here, when he's a mile away, how far away will he be from where he started? So far away. So I just want you to see, I know how busy you are. I know how crazy life gets. I know the obstacles you might be facing, or maybe you don't even realize these obstacles there with this old story. It doesn't matter where you are. It matters where you want to go. We're going to release all that old junk, get rid of that old story, cut the rope to the anchor holding you back, put the sails up, and live in this moment with a new story. And now knowing your true reason why. So let me go back. I know I digress. That's my ADD kicking in. But so in my quest to want to get more of you to digest the information I have, I asked this guy, Joe, to come and consult with me, and I was going to pay him a lot. I think it was 10 grand for the day. And he said, no, let's do this. You consult with me half a day. I'll consult with you a half a day. It's a wash. So he gets there, and he says, have you ever done the 7 levels deep? And I said, no. He said, it's a really great way I've found, not 10 levels, not 3 levels. 7 levels gets to your true why. And I trusted this guy. He did a lot of research, and he had clients who loved and adored him, and a lot of them digest. So I said, this is great. Just give me it. I want to give it to my students. He's like, no, I want you to go through it. I was a little apprehensive. I said, no, just give it to me, Joe. I promise I'll deliver it right. He goes, no, I'm either you go through it or I'm not going to do it. So I said, fine. So just like I asked you, why are you watching me? And I'll give you examples of other people later, like I mentioned. He said to me, why did you hire me to help your students digest and live a better life? And I remember saying, I said, because I want to help more people. Okay, I'm going to give you my examples. I'm going to help more people. So I'm like, yeah, that's why you're here. I want to help more people. So he said, okay, Dean, I appreciate your answer. And I want you to follow the way I'm doing this because I want you to do this with somebody else. Find someone you love, trust, adore, someone in your life that you can watch this section. If you don't watch the whole section with them, watch this section. Hi, if someone new is watching. And I want you to do this for each other. Ask it just the way I'm doing it here. And I almost brought somebody in, but this is between me and you, and I wanted to make this personal. I didn't want a third person here to maybe change the energy or shift the energy. I want to give you my personal story. So I said, I want to help more people. So he said to me, okay, Dean, I asked you why you were here or why you hired me, or you wanted me to come down, and you said you want to help more people. Why do you want to help more people? I said, because I want to set a new standard. He said, what does that mean? I said, well, I want to set a new standard. I want to be in this business of transforming lives, and other people have to step up to the value we deliver, how much we care, how much we want to change lives. And I want to set a standard so high that people come up to my level and I love the competition, or I want them out of this business. I don't want people just pretending they want to change lives. I want this transformational business to be the real deal. That's deep, right? He's like, Dean, that's amazing. So he said, all right, Dean, and remember this, the way I'm doing this, it sounds redundant. But he went through and he said, Dean, okay, I asked you why you wanted me here, and it's because you wanted to help more people. That's great. I asked you why you want to help more people. You said you want to set a new standard in the industry. Why do you want to set a new standard in the industry? I'm like, wow, I think I answered that. And you might feel the same way when you go through this. I said, because I want my business to grow. Based on, I'll just put this in, but I said to him, I remember saying, I want my business to grow based on solid foundation and leave a legacy for my family. That's a good one, right? So now I'm in this business mode, and I'm still thinking to myself, I wanted him here because I want to help more people. I want to set a new standard. People get up or get out, and I want to create this business that grows, that can make security for me and certainty for my family, but plus leave a legacy. Now, I'll be honest with you. He comes back and he says, great, Dean, I asked you why I'm here. You want to help more people. You want to set a new standard. I ask you why you want to set a new standard. You want your business to grow based on the right foundation. Why is that important? I don't remember what I put here. It wasn't even important. But when I got to these three, this is the part that changed my life. And I hope it changes yours. So whatever number 4 was, it was still kind of business oriented. Maybe I said I want to spend, let me just say I said, and it could have been more time with family. Yeah, I'm a busy guy. I work a lot. So I said, if I have a business that's growing based on the right standards, maybe it'll free up some more time. So great stuff. It's like, I think I got it. I know why I'm doing this. I want to help more people, set a new standard, have a great business that grows on a solid foundation, and I want to spend more time with my family. I'm good. This is when it all changed. This is about the line where it goes from here to straight in here, straight in your heart. I said, Joe, I got it. I understand what you're doing. He said, no, I don't. He looked right at me and he said, Dean, why do you want to spend more time with your family? And I felt this wave of emotion come over me. And I found out I was scared. Deep down, I was scared. And what was I scared of? Number 3 was, never go backwards. I have this insane drive that I never want to go back. When I was a kid, I wore hand-me-downs. My mom drove a 1971 Chevy Impala with the back window busted out with plastic on it, fenders flopping. I'd have my mom drop me off 2 blocks from school. My dad had a pickup truck, a 4-door old 67 Dodge pickup where the back door was roped on. Kid you not, roped on. And when I moved in with my dad when I was 10, I lived in a bathroom. Kid you not, my dad had an apartment that he was working on, and it wasn't finished. There was no heat, there was no studs, there was no electric, there was nothing. The only place, there was a plug-in heater in a bathroom. So my dad, we'd literally drag in, this is a true story, I'm not embellishing, exaggerating, we'd drag in a single mattress, and we'd sleep in this little bathroom next to each other. In the morning, I'd go stand out and freeze if it was cold before school. He'd get dressed, brush his teeth, take a shower. I'd wait, he'd wait, we'd exchange. I lived in that bathroom for months, and then drove to school in a truck with a back door with a rope on it, freezing the whole time. And I lived that way for a long time. I hated wearing hand-me-downs. I hated getting made fun of. I hated that, we took one vacation a year because my grandmother gave my mom enough money, and we'd go to the dumpiest place you could possibly imagine. I didn't want to go backwards. I supply a different life for my family. I want to provide more for my family. I like being able to make my own choices, and I didn't want to go backwards. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was in there. I had no idea that was in there. All these years, that's in there. That's one of my whys when I shifted right here, when my heart took over. When your heart takes over, it's always right. I just want to tell you that from my experience, when your heart takes over, it's right. So now I'm like, I got it. I'm done. And Joe says to me, Dean, thank you for sharing. I asked you why I was here. And again, he went through the whole thing. You said you want to help more people. You want to set a new standard. You want a business to grow on the right backbone. And that'll allow you more time with your family. Why is that important? Is you never want to go backwards. Dean, why don't you ever want to go backwards? And emotions hit me so hard, I couldn't help but crying. I mean, literally, I'm at a point, I'm in my office, and the tears are coming down. There's 5 people at the table. I don't care what anybody feels or thinks. I couldn't help crying. And I realized that it was my kids. I said, I don't want my kids to go through what I went through. As a kid, I struggled as a kid, moving all over the place and different schools and stepbrothers and stepsisters and not having the opportunities that I would have loved to. And I wanted to play sports, but I couldn't afford the cleats. And I wanted to go take different vacations. I wanted to learn a different language. I always dreamed of spending a summer in Italy because I'm Italian and my family's over there and I wanted to learn Italian. None of that was possible. And I wanted to give that opportunity to my kids. Now, I don't want to raise 2 more entitled kids in America. That's not my goal. And if you're a parent, if you never read Love and Logic, read it. Amazing book, but that's another time. But I'm very consciously aware of not raising entitled brats and raising 2 amazing children that'll be a part of society, contribute to society. But I also know I don't want them to struggle. I don't care if struggle made me who I am. If I can avoid their struggle and still create adults, that's great. If you struggled, who cares? That's your learning lesson. But if you don't have to, why make them struggle, right? And I had nothing but flood of emotions about my children. And I'm crying, weeping. And Joe says, Dean, and I said, Joe, I'm done, dude. It's my kids. He's like, did you have your business before you had kids? I said, yeah. Did you work hard? I said, yeah, since I was 7 years old, sold bubble gum in 7th grade and firewood in 10th and 11th and bought wrecked cars in 12th grade and fixed them up and sold them. And he said, okay, so let me just ask you. You asked me to come here and you went through the whole thing again because you want to help more people. I said, why set a new standard? Why business growth? Why more time? Then we crossed over. You never want to go backwards. I asked you why you never want to go backwards because you want to give your kids a different life. Why is it important for you never to go backwards and give your kids a different life? And I thought it would take me forever to find it, and it hit me immediately. And I said, be in control. I don't mean a control freak, but it was complete clarity of everything about my life in that very moment. Complete clarity. What I realized is when your parents are married 5 times, if you're in a military family, or you know someone, it's move, 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 move. When you live with your parents move and get married a lot, moved 20 times by the time I was 20, every time I'd go to a new school, I'd get a new stepbrother, new stepsister, feel embarrassed, feel uncomfortable, go to a new school, not having a lot of money. Stepbrothers don't like you, or stepsisters don't like that you moved into their house. Everything's just crappy, and it feels like crap. And then you kind of say, you know what, this is the life I have. As a kid, you just power through. We rebound, we're fine. And I get a new school, and all of a sudden, boom, it'd be taken away from me. And I'd miss the people that I became. New step-grandparents, gone, right? And I move in with my grandmother for a while and get used to my gram, who was this amazing lady who is my heart and soul. And then my dad say, hey, I want to, come live with me, and I'd go live there, and then that would change. And everything was taken away from me. I think I was going to my mom's for Christmas. They'd get in a fight, I'd go to my dad's, and there'd be nobody there. My whole family's at my mom's. I was never in control, never in control. And it must have hit me at an early age that if I can get finances, if I can be financially successful, and I want to tell you, I was first financially successful, and then I worked my ass off to figure out all the ways to have success, the real definition of success in all areas of my life. But the first was financial, and I realized why. Because I wanted to be in control. I never want anybody to tell me where to live, what to wear, where I want to go on vacation, how I want to raise my children, what language I want to talk. And if someone says, you didn't get out of school, I don't care if someone thinks academically I should be smarter to be teaching you right now, or have a degree in psychology to share this stuff. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm here to deliver passionately things that I know can transform your life, and I don't want anybody to tell me what to do, how to do it, and I want to be in control. At a very young age, I retired my mother and father, both of them. I have for years. I realized at that moment I did that to be in control. I wanted to be, I didn't want to control them. I didn't want to be at the mercy of some of their decisions. Everything was clear. These three things are my why. Now, why is this so important for you to do? Because when things go tough, when you're having a rough day, when your old story creeps in, when your state falls, when your state of mind falls, when your confidence kind of down, if you said, man, you're having a rough day, I can get through this. I can kill that villain. When the villain is running your life, when that bad wolf is running your life, when hopefully you've named that villain in that crappy picture that you look at, and that person is in control with all the attributes of that shitty mindset, that mentality, when you have that and you say, well, I just want to help more people, that is not enough. The majority of people, I've done this in a room, and I said, who in here wants financial freedom? 90% of the room raises their hand, and I'll say, is financial freedom enough to get you through that? No, it's not. But never going backwards, my children, and being in control of my life, that can get me through anything. That can get me to the gym. It could get me to be a better man, a better father, a better spouse, a better employer, a better teacher, a better educator, a better listener. It can do anything because I want my life to continue to grow because of these three things. Listen, for years, 4 years in a row, every month, I did an event where I would take someone up on stage, call somebody out of the audience, randomly pick different kinds of people on purpose, and I'd say, would you mind going through this exercise? And I'd sit them in a chair right next to me. And I'd say, so why'd you come here? 99% of the time, financial freedom, or quit my job. And these four were always financial freedom, more time with my family, quit my job, be my own boss, or if it was financially. If it was life, it was like, I just want to be healthier, more conscious, spend more time with family. These four are always that way. But these three, transformational. I would bet to say, if I had to take a percentage, 90% of the people are crying by right here and digging deep. And most of them think at number 3, they got it. And I want you to go through the same process. I'm kind of giving you a cheat sheet, so don't try to skip to here. Go through this process. But literally, when we get here, people go, no, I think I got it. And they're a little emotional. And I'd dig deep, and I'd push, and I'd find the reason why. I'd have people stand up and go, I know my why. And I'd say, that's not true. I had somebody stand up and say, because I want my own jet. I'm like, that's your real reason why. Get up here. Go through the process. Guy felt like he was never anything to his parents. He was always a loser. He was crying, and he shared his story in here, and he found his true reason why. But I want to give you an example of 2 people that really stand out. One was a gentleman. I'm not the tallest guy in the world. I'm 5'8". He was probably 6'3". This big, awesome dude. He comes up, picks me up. Dean, love your stuff. You've transformed my life. And I sit him down. I said, why? We get down here. He said he wanted to help kids in his neighborhood, African-American kids in his neighborhood whose dads weren't around, that didn't have any guidance. Amazing, incredible, life choice that he wanted. Passionate as hell about it. And he tells me that, I want to help more kids, and this is, I want to do my own thing, and I want to set a new standard and be a guy. It was great stuff, but he was in his head here. He got to number 3. Number 3, he said, he wanted to prove to everybody that he was something. That was really noble, and I could see him starting to get choked up. So here was, prove to the world I could do this. And number 2 was, I know this is what God wanted for my life. And by this time, he's this big man just sobbing. And he says, I know what God wanted for my life. And the truth is, at that point, I was like, I think we got all of them in my head. But I'm like, I got to go through the 7. I'm telling everybody it's 7. And it was 7. It was the last one. Going backwards, it was number 1. And I said to him, you told me you want to prove to everybody that you're worthy, that you can do this. Secondly is, God is what an incredible cause. You're calling from God. That's wonderful. But why is that important to you? And he burst out and said his dad left when he was young. So his single mom raised him. And he said she struggled her whole life. She worked 2 or 3 jobs. He never saw her, but she was always a caring, loving woman who supported. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. So supported him. And he always wanted to show her that all her hard work meant something, and he was a good man. And he said, I goofed off a lot. And I goofed off up until a couple of years ago. And he said she died a year and a half ago. And she never got to see me be the man I know I could be. And I'm going to show her in heaven. Oh my God, it makes me emotional talking about it. I'm going to show her in heaven who I am. And I saw the conviction in this man's face. And he was teary and emotional, but he found his why. Now, if he's having a bad day, if people tell him it can't work, if somebody said that charity's not going to work, if it was just because he wanted to create a charity, that's a noble cause, but it's not enough. But knowing that it's his calling from God, and he wants to prove to his mother and show her that all this amazing stuff that she sacrificed was worth it, that man can get through anything. I had a woman come up, same kind of stuff. Let's just say to here, it was similar. She switched over from her head to her heart right about here. When she got up to the second or first one, I forget it was, breaks down crying and said she was in a physically abusive relationship. Her husband beat her. And she finally got the nerve to leave him. And the last thing he said to her before she left was, "You'll never amount to anything. You're a loser." And her number one goal was to prove his ass wrong. And you should have seen her. She lit up. She went from she stood up and she's like, to prove him wrong. And I have not followed up with her because it was a live event. I have no doubt her life is on a whole nother level because she found her why. Your why can give you the motivation to stop those outer influences, to crush that villain, to expose the person you're supposed to be with an outer appearance, to stop using those words that damage you and trigger you to go in the wrong state and allow you to take that new story and that be the emotional path you live on. That's the opportunity you have right this minute. So if you have the time right now and you have someone in your life, have somebody watch this exercise or go through it on your own. As you go through it, you could just listen to me or you can use the 7 levels sheet and go through it and find out your true reason why. Because if you have that right now, how great will it make what you already learned and what you're about to learn? The next part I want to talk about is they deserve better. And who is they? Okay, this is about you. You can't give the best of you unless you are the best of you. Until you love yourself, you can't truly love everybody else. Until you know your real story, we know that. You will make other people better. But there are people in your life that deserve the best you. And it hit me one day as another arrow in your quiver, as another tool in your toolbox to success, another thing you can replace. Again, we're talking about replacing. You can replace what you thought your reason why was with your new reason why. Is that adding any time to your life? No, you just have a more empowering why, right? So getting back, I'm on the plane, and you know how they say when the oxygen mask drop, put yours on and then help the person you love, or the person you're with, the person you love, your kids, you love your kids, right? And then hit me. That's what we're all doing. That's why you're watching right now. Every billionaire that I know, every thought leader and industry leader, an industry transformer and super successful people, every entrepreneur I've met, students of mine that went from broke to insanely wealthy. When you boil it down, none of them want money for money. They all want it because they want to make an impact on the world or people that they love. All of them. I've never met anybody that was just this total greedy person. Even the people who thought they were greedy aren't. So how do you find that? So I'm on the plane, talk about oxygen mask drop. So I want you to think about that. What you really want is you want to have such an empowering story. You want to be so inspirational. You want to be so financially set, emotionally available to deliver things that can help people evolve, to be a good listener, to be in the best health so you can be an example to your children and grandchildren, to be passionate so your wife or your husband can't wait for you to get home or on date night. All those things are possible. And in most cases, we want to be that person so we can bring the best out of other people, right? If you give your best, you get your best. So, again, oxygen mask on first. We want that security so we can give it to other people. So let me ask you something. When you get that place that you wouldn't be watching, if there's at least one area of life you want to evolve to, when you have that oxygen mask on and you are safe and sound, totally confident, your confidence level is at 100%, the villain is dead, the hero in you is just bursting out of the seams, light would come out of your pores if it could, who would you help? Who would you help? Who would you give love to on a deeper level? Who would you help out financially? Would you retire your parents? Would you give more money to your church? Would you help with the Ebola crisis just anonymously? Would you send money to people who need it? What would you do? if your oxygen mask was secure in 360, all the areas of your life, just total security, who would you give that to? And I bet you're thinking of somebody right now. Would you make sure your kids are totally secure so they don't have to worry about anything in their future? I don't know who it is, but it's somebody, or it's people, or it's a church. And I'd love for you to write that down and remember that, because this is for you, but when you also compound and stack in your toolbox the people you want to be the best you for, it's another level to not let you get off track. So I want you to, and then the last thing I want to talk about is be the observer. So if you look, and this is Eckhart Tolle at his finest in The Power of Now. I love that book. I had to listen to it a bunch of times to really get it. But I'm just going to try to simplify it again. Is if your brain and your thoughts are this incredible organ that we were given to make decisions and be, at the top of the hierarchy of all life on this planet, right? It can be an amazing thing, but our thoughts can also destroy us and kick our asses, right? When you can't sleep in the middle of the night because you got a thought just going over and over and over. Or you're stressed because that word, or overwhelmed, it's because your brain is just thinking, and your brain has acquired all these ways of thinking, and it forms patterns. Something goes wrong, and you start stacking all the things that can go wrong. I said this earlier, but I want to talk about it here. For years, I would have this process at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd wake up and I'd think about all the things that weren't going right, and I'd think through them obsessively. A lot of times I'd go right till morning. Other times I'd fall back asleep at 5 and get up at 5:30. And I just thought, and this is the hardest part, I thought, well, that's what must make me successful. I think of the problems and I come up with solutions in the middle of the night. No, you know what that's called? It's called a success trap. Success traps are harder to get out of than failure traps, because failure, it failed, you walk away. Success trap is like, oh, maybe I shouldn't sleep in the middle of the night and get the rest I need because it's helping me. No, that was a BS story. And the worst part about it is some nights, the nights that destroyed me and ruined my whole next day, I'm being transparent. This is why I get to live this and share it with you, because I'm on the other side. I just realized that some nights I would get up and I'd stack. Well, if that happens, damn it, then what happens next? And then if I lose that, and then if this doesn't work, and then I'm 4 miles down the street making up a video or a story in my mind that didn't happen yet, but I'm stressing. My body doesn't know it didn't happen. My brain is so powerful, my body's in turmoil because it thinks the 5 steps away that never happened, that aren't true, didn't happen, but my body feels it. What is that old saying? I've had lots of horrible things happen in my life, and actually a couple of them came true. That's what it is. We drive ourselves crazy with these thoughts. So what I did was, and it took me months, just being honest with you, a little bit each day, I'd wake up, and instead of saying, oh, what's wrong? I'd say, what's right? And the thoughts of what's wrong would try to pop in. I'm like, no, just throw those away. Don't even want to talk about those. What's right? Oh, my kids are doing so good. God, my daughter loves cheer, and she's just being so responsible, and and I just stack, and then stack, and then stack, and I'd go down this path of exactly how I used to go down the path of things could go wrong. I'd go down the path of what's right, and all of a sudden I'd wake up, it'd be morning. And after training myself, I immediately, when the thoughts are bad, I go to this positive place. It's just about going to the gym. You can't go to the gym once and go, I'm in amazing shape. You got to go all the time. But when you get to love the gym because of the results, and you get to love this way of observing your thoughts, it's like going to the gym. You get obsessed. So as Eckhart Tolle would say, be the observer of your thoughts. I know that sounds crazy, but let's just take your soul and your mind and separate them. And when you start having thoughts that are just crazy and taking you down a path, one quick question. Is it true? Did it already happen? Is it true? Did this already happen? Is it true? 99% of the times it's not true, and it didn't happen yet. It's your brain forecasting a future, screwing with your body. So be the observer of your thoughts. And there's one last thing I want to add. I want to share this story with you. I think it's really important as we end section 2. A little while ago, I did a small little family reunion. Being busy, my mom lives in Virginia. I live in Arizona, long ways away. We get to see each other, but not enough. And to have everybody together, it's been years to have my mom and my stepdad, who I love dearly, and my 2 nephews and my sister and her husband, and my wife's mom and my kids and my niece. And so I rented a house down in Cabo on the beach, and I flew everybody in for this reunion. And it was fantastic being around everybody. I haven't had that family feeling in so long with everybody in one place. And my stepdad, night one, looked a little pale. He said he wasn't feeling the best. He thought it was kind of like, you know, from jet lag, from flying. But the next day, he was pure white, passes out, and we can't get him up. And we call the ambulance. And he's so pure white, you can't believe it. Long story short, we're in Mexico. We don't know anybody. Thankfully, I had a friend of a friend who was a doctor there and told us what hospital to go to, which was fantastic. And there's two lessons I want to share here. We get into the hospital, and his intestines are bleeding internally. And they go try to patch him up a little bit, whatever they did, or gave him something to drink, and he came home, and the next day it happened again, goes back in the hospital, and he's freaking dying. He lost like 80% or 70% of the blood in his body. I'm not exaggerating. There was so little blood, you could almost see through his skin. And when he had to talk, or when he wanted to talk, they literally put pillows under his legs so the blood would rush, and there'd be enough where he'd kind of get conscious, get blood to his brain, and he'd be able to say something. And I learned two lessons here. One is, you know, I know that there's this scripture that says the love of money is evil, but money is not evil. The obsession and using money for the wrong things. So much good has come from money, and money can absolutely transform your life. And I learned a lesson that day that was taught to me by my mentor, Dan Sullivan. He said, if you can cut a check for the problem, you don't have that problem. It's as simple as that. If you can cut checks for old bills that are bugging you, it's not a problem anymore. If your family is struggling and you can cut a check, it's not a problem. If your church is struggling and you can cut a check, it's not a problem. If you can cut a check to quit your job that's been just killing you slowly, it's not a problem anymore. That doesn't make it evil. That's amazing opportunity that any one of you watching right now could have when you change your story and change your other pieces. But this is when that part came so crystal clear to me. So my stepdad, literally, he's going in. They're going to go in, they ended up taking out his whole colon. His whole large intestines came out. You know, and nobody speaks English. We're all nervous and scared. And my stepdad, let me just rewind for a second. My stepdad was my mom's high school sweetheart. And then she married my dad. And then she married Lenny, my stepdad, about 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And it didn't work out. It just wasn't the right time, and they split. And they just got back together 7 years ago. They're so in love. You know, they're just the happiest two I've ever seen. And it's so amazing to see my mom that happy. This is the love of her life. She loved him since high school. And he's dying. He looks like he's dying. So they're literally wheeling him in. It's only a 2-room hospital, mind you. And they're wheeling him into the emergency room. And they're all scrubbed up. And he's laying back. And he says, Dean, come here. And he looks horrible. I thought he was dying. He thought he was dying. But before I get to that, before his message, that's the lesson number 2. I got sidetracked because it was a really emotional time. But the first part about cutting a check for the problem. Half hour before they go into surgery, they don't take Medicare, they don't take insurance. We're in Mexico. The doctor comes to me and says, Mr. Graziosi, can I talk to you? Before we wheel him in, we need to get paid. And it's $35,000. We need it up front. It'll be probably twice that, but we need $35,000 now. Now, I'm not saying they would have let him die. I don't know, but they said they needed it before. And that whole concept of cutting a check for the problem was so visible and so real because my sister couldn't, and my mom couldn't, and nobody in my family could, and it wasn't a big deal for me. I was able to pull out my credit card and put it on there, swipe, and half hour later, they're wheeling them in. So that's lesson 1 is money's not evil. And if you could cut checks for problems by enhancing your life or changing your circumstances or changing your story, then do it. Then do it. But the second part of the story, and I'm sorry I digressed, the second part of the story is they're wheeling him in. He wants to talk to me, and I walk up to him, and immediately he said what he regretted. He told me in a short period of time, he said, Dean, I should have been there for you. Because he was a great stepdad when I was young. It was probably when I was 10 to 14, so it was 30 years ago, something like that. I'm dating myself. And he was a great stepdad, and then he was gone. He said to me, I should have been there for you. I loved being your stepdad, and I loved being your mom's husband, but it was my fault. I was unfaithful to your mom, and I was so guilty, I left. Never knew any of that. And he went on to say 2 or 3 things he regretted. And I was like, God, really? This, you know, and he went in. So let me just tell you the ending. He had all his intestines removed. It was really shaky. He had to stay down there for a couple of weeks, but he's recovered, and he's doing great. So that's awesome news. But it hit me that we're all going to be at that place sometime in our life where we're going to be at the end of our road. And I don't want to be left with regrets when I know today I could find out my 7 levels deep. I could change my story. I could find ways to make more money, to be a better husband, be a better dad, be a better person, be a better contributor to the earth, grow more. All these things, why not do them now? Because someday you're going to look back and wish you did. When you realize, I think the intelligence that comes in your older age is what so many of us miss. Older people have life experience. My grandmother never went past 7th grade. She was the smartest woman I know right to the day she died because she just had all this life experience and she realized all the crap we worried about wasn't worth it. The stories we told ourselves weren't. The stuff we digested from the outside world didn't matter. And at the end of your life, I think you realize you are the thermostat and you control the environment. It's like a control panel and we are in control. And in so many cases, people don't realize it. He realized that on his deathbed, or at least what he thought was his deathbed. So I'll leave you with this for section 2. Figure out, make a list of all the things, if you were dying today, what would be some of the regrets you'd had? And fix them now, get rid of them. Call people that you were fighting with, solve problems, change your story. Whatever it is that would be on that list, resolve it now. All right, guys, that's the end of section 2. I'm not sure if you're still doing this in day 1. It's a week. It's been a couple of weeks. But get ready for the Power Pack section 3, where we're going to talk about how to unleash your inner hero.